Venice, Florida, here on the west coast of Florida, is so desirable, not only for its proximity to a number of beaches, it's very far west, but also there's so many different events and activities, so many fun things that happen all year round. But there are a number of misconceptions that I've realized over the last few years that people have about Venice. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 10 reasons why Venice might be a good place for you to move to, and I'm going to clarify some of those misconceptions. Hi, I'm Jill Thomas, and I'm a real estate agent here in the Sarasota Bradenton area, and that would include Venice, Florida, on the west coast of Florida. Venice was recently named one of the top 5 cities or towns to move to for retirees that are near the beach. And over the years, they've won a number of awards. You can go to some of their websites and see all those. In fact, I'll probably drop a link, if I can remember, down below in the description for you so you can check those out yourself. But in this video, I want to share with you 10 reasons why it might be a good fit for you. Number 1, Venice is the shark's tooth capital of the world. Now, when people hear that, they are afraid, thinking that there's a lot of sharks there. But no, that's not necessarily the case. It's not that there's more sharks near Venice Beach than other beaches, but for whatever reason, their little teeth make it to this beach. And so people love searching and hunting for these shark's teeth. There's just an abundant supply after the storms and the hurricanes as the sand and everything got turned up. I think that there was even more to be found. There's Facebook groups dedicated to this and how people look for them and search for them. So it's a big thing there in Venice. And then also every year there's like the Shark's Tooth Festival, and there's other Shark's Tooth related events and activities that revolve around that. So I think that's very interesting. So Venice is the shark's tooth capital of the world. Number 2, beaches. As I mentioned in the introduction, Venice is close to a number of beaches. So first of all, we have the Venice Beach, which is where you're going to find most of those shark's teeth. But then also there's just slightly to the north of it is the Nokomis Beach, and adjacent to that is the North Jetty. And then farther south is the Englewood Beach. And I think there's a couple other little ones mixed in there as well. So even though they all might not have a Venice mailing address, it doesn't matter what part of Venice you live in, farther north, farther south, or in the middle, the beaches aren't going to be too far away from you. Number 3, downtown area. Now, Venice actually has its own little downtown area. And as I've talked about in some of my other videos, not all of these little areas or subgroups, subcultures that we have a downtown area. But Venice certainly does, and it's on the island. We call it Venice Island. There's several bridges that will get you there. Now, when I moved down here with my family in 1991, both of my parents worked for the post office, and they were mail carriers, and they both worked out of the post office right there on the island. There's the downtown section, and then all of a sudden there's the post office, and there's some public tennis courts, and then you keep going down, beautiful homes, and then you hit the beach. So that's where they were at. Now, as you can imagine, back in the 90s and being new to an area, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have YouTube where we're researching all these things. You just found different service providers by word of mouth. So even though we always lived in Sarasota, everybody that we used for anything worked in Venice because they were on my dad's mail route. So whether it was auto insurance or dentist, we needed like an elder law attorney for my grandfather at one point. Everybody was in Venice because that's all we knew back in the day back then. And so now we've kind of shifted and everything's up in Sarasota, but that's what we did when we first moved down here. But anyways, let's get back to the downtown area. So the downtown area of Venice there on the island comprises of several streets that are parallel to each other. And in the middle, there's this cute little park. And when I say park, there's not even a playground unless something recently got put in that I'm not aware of, but there's bathrooms and a gazebo and stuff, and there's all these different events right there. So you've got shops and restaurants and even some commercial space and different offices there. The Venice Players Theater's downtown there, and so it does have its own little downtown area. Number 4, events. Now, often people think that they need to live in Sarasota or closer to it to be able to participate in different events and activities. But you know what? Venice offers quite a bit. As I already mentioned, they have their Shark's Tooth Festival, but there's other different art festivals, craft festivals, car shows, you name it, regular farmers markets. So there's a lot that goes on a regular basis in Venice. It's very vibrant. And then there's also different events that, revolve around the holidays. So we're talking like Easter egg hunts, fireworks at the 4th of July, parades at Halloween, like the little kids can march around in their costumes and stuff downtown. So lots of things. And then of course, things that are related to Christmas. And so So as I'd already mentioned, my parents worked for the post office. And so then one year, it was early on in the 90s, the post office had a float in the parade. So I got to ride on that. So that was really fun to do, to be on the float versus just watching the parade. So there's a lot that happened in Venice. Now, if you are interested in going to something in Sarasota, it's not far away, guys. So don't pigeonhole yourself and think, okay, it's only Venice or it's only Sarasota. Venice offers a lot. Sarasota offers a lot. You can take advantage of activities and events in both towns. Number 5 reason why Venice, Florida might be a good fit for you. Venice is very much a dog-friendly city, as is our other cities around here too. It's just not Venice, but there's a couple differences. Number 1, the downtown area in Venice is very pet-friendly. There's going to be water bowls for your dogs outside of a lot of the shops and restaurants. There's a lot of outdoor seating for restaurants where you can keep your dogs with you. So people love that. And really all over here, it's not unusual for people to take their dogs inside of stores, even if they're not service animals. It's not an uncommon thing. My sister works for Publix, and she said that people have their dogs all the time. The only rule is they can't have the dog inside the shopping cart. So they either carry them, the dog's in a bag, or the dog's on a leash. So she has good stories about that pretty often. So very pet friendly. And then something else I didn't mention when we talked about beaches is there is a paw park or a paw beach in Venice near the pier where that is pet friendly. You can take your dog there. Of course, you have to clean up after yourself or after the pet, things like that. Pets have to be on a leash. They can't be running around or anything like that. But that's the only beach of all of Sarasota and Manatee County that does allow dogs. Okay, thanks for making it halfway through this video. As I mentioned, I'm a real estate agent here, and each week I do bring new videos about what it's like to live in the Sunshine State. And then of course I focus on the Sarasota Bradenton area like I do today. And then a lot of my videos are about real estate. So if you're thinking about making a move here or sadly making a move out of here, then please give me a call. Let me know what I can do to help you. Maybe I can answer some questions and we can have a good conversation so you can make great decisions about yourself. And then if you'd be so kind, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button on this video. That would be awesome. Number 6, safe city. All right, a number of years ago, one of the platforms declared that Venice, Florida was the 16th safest city in the state of Florida. And let me now jump back over and talk about one of these misconceptions that I hear pop up quite often. All right, people hear safe, they hear great for retirees. So in their mind, they translate that into like a slow and boring town. They think it's a sleepy town. It's slow. There's not much going on there. Well, I will have to tell you that's not true. When people tell me that, they're like, oh, I don't want to go there because it's going to be too slow for me. I already know it. And it's like, well, have you been there yet? Well, no. I said, well, when you come down, I think you need to check it out first and then decide if you find it to be too slow or too boring for you. Now, of course, depending on where you're coming from, if you're coming from a big city, if you're coming from New York or something like that, then sure, I would understand that you might think it's slow and boring, but I would say give it a chance first before you write it off and not consider this as a potential area. I think most people in the end kind of like it and it's pretty charming as well. So is it safe? Sure. Is it a good place for retirees? Yeah. Is it slow and boring? I don't think so. Not so much. Not to most people. Number 7, not just for retirees. Now, like I said, Venice has this, an award or whatever you want to call it, saying that it's one of the best, most affordable places for retirees near the beach. So yeah, so you hear that a lot, but please don't think that it's only for retirees. It's really shifted and changed in the last handful of years. So is there still 55 plus communities? Yep, you got it. Are there a lot of villas, people who want maintenance-free lifestyles? Yep, all day long. But there is so much new construction going on right now, and especially like in Welland Park, which is in the Venice north end of Northport down there, where it's shifting. I don't think the demographics are going to stay the same for very long. There's a lot more schools being built and things like that. So if you do have a family and you're thinking, well, maybe Venice isn't a good fit because it's only for retirees, again, I would say don't scratch it off your list quite yet. Come on down, do a little bit more research. And if it's still not a good fit for you, that's okay. But I'd say give it a little bit of a chance. Okay, number 8. Another great thing about Venice is its proximity to other areas. So of course, as I've mentioned, Venice offers so much for people who live there. If you have other interests that might not be available in Venice, things aren't too far away. So Venice is in Sarasota County. So we've got Sarasota County and it goes Sarasota and then Osprey and Nokomis, and then south of that's Venice, and then Northport. So first of all, Sarasota's not far away if you want to do things there. What else is nice is the Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area is just maybe an hour or so north of the Venice area. So if you're big into professional sports, you can see the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Lightning, and the Rays. And it's not a very far drive at all. What is also nice is if you fly a lot, airports aren't very far away. So you've got the Tampa Airport, you've got the St. Pete Clearwater Airport, we have the Sarasota Bradenton Airport, and then to the south, Punta Gorda actually has a little airport that people sometimes can find some good flights out of, and then the Fort Myers Airport. So you've got a lot of options there. And then in terms of medical facilities, the new branch of the Sarasota Memorial Hospital is in Nokomis off of Laurel Road, and so that's not very far away as well. And I think that there was a hospital on the island, on Venice Island, that's going to close down, or maybe it already has, but nonetheless. So there's still great medical facilities all nearby. So you're still not far to other things that you might want to do or need to do. Number 9, parks and wildlife. Did you know that there are over 30 parks in Venice? Now, when I say park, my brain still goes back to the kind of parks I had growing up in Toledo. There were so many big parks with all these different paths you could take. Our parks here aren't always quite like that. I mean, there's a few, but so some of these parks are going to be little tiny parks. And of course, they're including the beaches in these numbers. But there are a lot of opportunities for you to explore, to be outside, and to enjoy our wildlife. Number 10, arts and culture. All right, if you enjoy the arts, Venice is not going to disappoint. So often people just think, well, it's only Sarasota that offers all of these things, but that's not true. I think I already mentioned in the downtown area, we've got the Venice Players Theater. A number of years ago, I went with one of my girlfriends and we saw Sweeney Todd and this little black box theater, and it was awesome. It was so good. But then Venice also has the Venice Performing Arts Center. They have their own symphony. And then there's also the Venice Arts Center. There's a couple other little places too I didn't put in here. But again, there's a lot going on in Venice when it comes to arts and culture. And if you need something a little bit more, Sarasota is not too far away. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed these top reasons why I think Venice is a pretty good option, a great place to consider moving to. Now, if there's something I missed, whether you think it's good or not so good, drop it in the comments below. That's okay. Everything doesn't have to be rosy. Like, I think the traffic can be really bad. So when we talked about slow and boring, traffic's still there. There's some things, but that's all over our area. So you're not going to escape that no matter where you want to go. All right. And as I already mentioned, if you have any questions in regards to real estate, you want to chat with me, kind of figure out what direction you need to take next with what you've got going on in your life with real estate, then don't hesitate. Give me a call. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great day.